What if? What if things are not just the way we've always been taught? Hi, I'm Kathy Ann. Let's be Berean. Have you ever read a mystery book? A whodunit book? And you just could not wait to see how it all turned out? So you flipped over to the last chapters to see if, as you suspected, the butler really did it. Well, we have a mystery story in the 13th chapter of Matthew. In fact, in verse 11, that is just what Yeshua, King James calls him Jesus, that is just what Yeshua calls these parables. Mysteries. Mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. In verse 35, Yeshua states that none of what he is about to reveal was ever told to any Old Testament prophet. No one ever knew anything about what Yeshua himself was about to reveal. It is like getting to read the last chapter of a whodunit book. Who done it? Christianity did it. We're going to take each of the 7 parables of Matthew 13, one by one, and see how it is actually the history of the New Testament church, starting from when Yeshua walked the streets of Jerusalem with his disciples, all the way to the present time, this year, 2017. Let's get started. Open your Bible to Matthew 13 and follow along as I read the first parable about the sower in verses 3 through 9. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell on stony places, where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, because they had no root, they withered away. Some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell on good ground, and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. The great thing about this first parable is that the interpretation is given for us in verses 18 through 23. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and casteth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he that receiveth seed by the wayside. But he that receiveth seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon receiveth with joy. Yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receiveth seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that receiveth seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word, and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. This parable is unique because all the other 6 parables of Matthew 13 begin with the phrase, the kingdom of heaven is like unto. But this first parable does not begin with that phrase. Why not? Because the king was right there, right before them. Yeshua, the Son of God. God incarnate is the sower. The Lord of the harvest for 1,500 years had been planting the seed in Israel. He sent his workers, Moses, David, the prophets, and finally John the Baptist, all workers in the Lord's vineyard among the Jews. Finally, the Lord sent his very own Son. Surely they would respect him. But alas, Isaiah records what was found when the Lord looked for his harvest. Reading Isaiah 5, verses 1 and 2. Now I will sing to my beloved a song of my beloved, touching his vineyard. My well-beloved hath a vineyard in a very fruitful hill, and he fenced it, and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the choicest vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a winepress therein. And he looked that it should bring forth grapes. But it brought forth wild grapes. Wild grapes. He came unto his own, and his own received him not, as recorded in John 1:11. So out of mercy, the God of heaven turns to the Gentiles to call a people who will love him with their whole heart. They are the good soil. While he was here on earth, Yeshua's method was broadcast sowing of the seed. Verse 38 tells us the field is the world. We learned that not all ground on which the Lord threw some seed, not all that ground was favorable. In fact, most soils were unproductive. There was hard soil, seed that fell by the wayside. Those people hear the word of the kingdom, but do not understand it. And Satan's agents, the birds, come and snatch away what was sown in their heart. These people are hard-hearted. Then there was the stony soil, where there was not much earth. When these people hear the word, they immediately receive it with joy. But they only endure a little while, until tribulation or persecution comes. Just like the soil, they are shallow-hearted. The last bad soil has thorns. These hear the word, but the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke them, and they become unfruitful. They are half-hearted. If we compare what is recorded in Matthew 13 with the same account in the other Gospels, Mark 4:19 adds desires for other things, and in chapter 8, Luke adds the pleasures of life as also being thorns for these half-hearted people. Yeshua taught a couple of things about the harvest in this first parable. One thing he taught was that most soils would be unproductive. There is just not much good soil out in the world's field. So as you go forth to sow seed, do not become discouraged when you find few receptive hearts. And second, Yeshua taught that over time there would be a marked decrease in that harvest. Verse 23 reads, which also bear fruit, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. The yield that bore 100-fold was likely referring to the days of the apostles, the 60-fold during the Reformation, and today the yield is 30-fold. Are we not already seeing what was predicted in 2 Timothy 3? This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minders, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. Remember, our focus is to sow the seed. The harvest is, after all, in the hands of the Lord. Let me remind you of the words of Yeshua as recorded in John 4:35. Say ye not, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh the harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already to harvest. I really want to sing, bringing in the sheaves, we will come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. But I better leave the singing to some of you all. Anyway, I've got some seed to sow. Till next time when we talk about the wheat and the tares, remember, what if? What if things are not just the way we've always been taught? I'm Kathy Ann. Be blessed.